Hello, dear lovely audience. Welcome back to another Bravo TV new recap. Everyone, I know you'll have been waiting for this. Thank you guys so much for your patience. Captain Kerry Titheradge and his crew exclusively set the record straight on Below Deck Season 12 drama. Tired of scrolling? Click here to bump BravoTV.com's latest news to the top of your search results. While at St. David's helm on Below Deck, Captain Kerry Titheradge's singular focus was keeping the yacht and his crew steered in the right direction. Now that Season 12 has ended, he's seen the bigger picture, though, and there's something he wants to clarify. Watching the season back always gives me new perspective, Kerry explained to the Daily Dish via email post-finale. As captain, I don't see everything that happens in the moment, so it's eye-opening to witness the dynamics as viewers do. Throughout Season 12, Kerry faced several seemingly impossible dilemmas, ranging from deciding which crew members to fire and not fire, to whether or not to call the police to assist with an out-of-control charter guest. Regardless of who is involved, though, Kerry said he approached each incident with the same basic principle. What I want to make clear is that my decisions are never personal, he elaborated. Every call I make is about what's best for the guests, the vessel, and the team as a whole, even when it's tough. Barbara Calaife sets the record straight on her and Jess Theron's breakup after Season 12. Captain Kerry is hardly the only Below Deck cast member who had an eye-opening experience, post-filming, though. After previously revealing their breakup on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen's September 8th episode, Barbara Calaife exclusively shed new light on what went wrong in her tumultuous boatments with lead deckhand Jess Theron. Watching the season back honestly gave me a sense of relief, because it confirmed that I was right all along about the way Jess treated me, Barbara shared via email. I also want to set the record straight about my appearance on WWHL. I truly didn't expect to talk about what happened, but the topic came up. From her POV, she and Jess were still together when they first left St. David, but things quickly went awry on dry land. And, yes, Solene Favreau was allegedly involved. Related, are Jess Theron and Barbara Calaife still together after Below Deck Season 12? Where they stand now. As viewers saw in the final episode, she was no longer planning to go to New York, as she had been saying before. Barbara continued. We had an argument because, in my heart, I still felt there was something unresolved between her and Solene. That's when I decided to end things. In the immediate post-split aftermath, Barbara said she was headed back to her St. Martin hotel room when she unexpectedly crossed paths with Solene. I told her I was upset about how everything had ended, but that it was for the best, for my peace of mind, she recalled. The next morning, as we were heading to the vans, Solene opened the door to Jess's hotel room, wearing only a pillow in front of everyone. It was very clear they had spent the night together. It felt like a punch to the stomach, but it also gave me the certainty that I had made the right choice. As Barbara concluded, in the end, the deepest sadness comes not from someone you were only seeing for a few weeks, but from realizing it's the people you considered friends who hurt you the most. I also want to make it clear that I didn't share my story to create hate toward anyone. I simply told the truth of what happened. Previously, Jess shared her side of the story in a Reddit comment after Barbara's WWHL appearance. Barbara ended things right after cameras stopped filming, Jess wrote on September 9th. It upset me, and we fought. She ignored me and canceled our plans to go to New York together. Whatever I do after she ended things was none of her business. Jess also claimed to have receipts and messages to support her version of events. Damo Yorg reveals behind-the-scenes Below Deck Season 12 details. Deckhand Damo Yorg, meanwhile, told the Daily Dish that there were so many things he saw in a new light while watching Season 12. For starters, Chef Anthony Iracane's brief blow-up with the crew over perceived criticism of the meals he provided them wasn't exactly as it seemed. Chef's crew food that we got in a fight over wasn't because he made us sandwiches, Damo claimed. It was because that was food that was served to the guests that they didn't eat, then served to us. There was half a sandwich each. That was the issue, not that it was sandwiches. As for his love triangle involving Solene and Kyle Stilley, Damo revealed that his fellow deckhand told him probably 100 times to shoot his shot with the stew and that he didn't care. Either way. Further complicating matters, Soline's on and off fling, Jess, also kissed Damo over Carnival weekend on St. Martin. Related, Soline kisses an unexpected third crew member in shocking moment. Can't say I saw this coming. In an unseen moment, Damo said he approached bosun Hugo Ortega and took responsibility for his part in the tangled romances affecting the crew's overall performance, to an extent, at least. Me spilling the beans about Soline on the beach. I apologized to Hugo for causing that drama, he wrote. But what I said wasn't my fault, is that she's not doing her job. I've never had one person not doing their job be so many other people's problems. After also insisting that he never complained about Caio Paltrinieri overlooking the deck crew's breaks, which partially contributed to the bosun season 12 firing, Damo continued, there were so many fun things left out. Beach Olympics, dances, fights, makeouts. I wish we could show it all. Hugo Ortega and Kyle Stilley reflect on Below Deck season 12 drama. Caio's replacement, Hugo, on the other hand, claimed that his opinions haven't changed after watching the episodes. In hindsight, he might have approached his on-camera arguments with Anthony and Rainbow de Roos a bit differently, however. I don't hold any grudges, and if I could do it again, I would have first spoken privately to hash out any beef/annoyances, rather than letting them spill out in a public setting, Hugo added in an email. Finally, Kyle, for his part, noted that his perspectives on a few situations and people certainly changed post-filming, before offering the final word on his rumored charter guest hookup. All I have to say is that I didn't do it, and I've got no good answer for why I said I did. Don't miss what else Kyle spilled about his complicated journey after filming wrapped on Below Deck season 12. Captain Kerry Titheradge speaks out after season 12 finale. What I want to make clear. The theater lights dimmed. The stagehands brought down the curtain on season 12, and with it, months of suspense, drama, victories and losses that changed everything, or so many thought. In the glow of the aftermath, in the first quiet hours after the final curtain of season 12 drops, Captain Kerry Titheradge steps forward. She has requested this moment to speak, not as a character, but as herself. Because what she wants to make clear cannot be left unsaid.
Here is what she said.
I prelude. Why I felt the need to speak. When season 12 ended, the applause was thunderous, but so too were the questions. In every fandom forum and social media thread, people are trying to understand why things ended the way they did. Some praise, some condemn. Some are furious, others heartbroken. Some confused. What I want to make clear is that every scene, every decision, every heartbreak in that finale was intentional. Yes, I know what you're thinking. That's what you always say. But this time, more than ever, clarity is essential. Because with the stakes higher, with emotions raw, nothing is black and white. Nothing is what it seems, and nothing has been done on a whim. So let me walk you through what season 12 was, what it became, and where I believe we are now. Not to defend, but to explain. Not to defend, but to invite understanding. 2. The heart of season 12. More than just plot twists. From the very first episode of the season, we set out with a different ambition. The earlier seasons were about establishing the world, the characters, the conflicts. By season 12, those foundations were solid. What I wanted was to push boundaries. Not just action or spectacle, although we have both. But moral ambiguity. The cost of leadership. The pain of loyalty. The haunting weight of choices that fracture you from the inside. I'll be honest, I wanted season 12 to feel like being underwater. To have that pressure. To have that sense that breathing, even making a decision, could break you. We asked, what does leadership cost you? What parts of yourself must you sacrifice? What do you do when every path ahead is wrong in some way? In many ways, the finale was not just an ending, it was the moment all those tensions came to a head. So when people ask, why did Captain Titheradge do that? Why did she make that choice? Why did the writers seem to punish her? I want you to understand it wasn't punishment.
It was consequence.
3. Key choices and why they mattered. There are at least 3 big choices from the finale that I want to explain because I know they've been controversial. I want to make clear why they happened the way they did and what they were meant to set up. The betrayal at Portenza Bay. Many fans expected a rescue mission, a showdown. Instead, we got a betrayal, not by the enemy, but by someone in the inner circle. That twist, I understand, stung. But it was never simply plot twist. From episode 7 onwards, the signs were there. Glances, silences, the misaligned priorities. The betrayal wasn't about who stabbed you in the back. It's about who you trusted enough that their stab hurts more. That betrayal was the payoff of tiny cracks that had formed over time. Also, it was meant to raise the stakes. If betrayal comes from the inside, the enemy isn't out there alone. It's within. It forces choices. Do you retreat? Do you confront betrayal and accept the cost? Or do you keep holding together what's already fractured? Titheradge's decision to abandon the fleet. I know how furious some were when Captain Kerry, my character, made the call to abandon the fleet. Leave them behind. Many felt it was cowardice or selfishness. Some said it betrayed everything she stood for. But I want to make clear, this decision was never made lightly in the writing. From the start of the season, the physical resources were being drained. Allies had been lost. Supplies were diminishing. Morale was slipping. The enemy forces were closing in both externally and internally. The fleet was also a liability, a target. Hanging on too long meant they all died. Sometimes, to save many, you have to make an unthinkable choice. It's an imperfect choice. It's a painful choice. It goes against every instinct of a leader who swore to protect all. But there's leadership in recognizing unwinnable situations. There's courage in saying, we can't do everything. And that moment, leaving the fleet, was intended not only to show the cost of command, but also to force the character and the audience to wrestle with what victory even means. The final scene, after the ashes. The very last scene, where Titheradge, standing amid the ruins of the base, looking out to the horizon, alone. Some saw it as defeat. Others saw it as resolve, or even hope. What I want to make clear is, that scene was never meant to be definitive. It was meant to be open-ended. A moment of reckoning. Because endings that close everything off feel like lies. Life doesn't tie up neatly. There are regrets. There are scars. There are choices you live with. I wanted the last image to be one of a person who has lost much, but has not surrendered. To say, the war is not over. The fight will go on. Maybe in a different form. Maybe in a quieter way. For what I did not want and what we avoided. Sometimes what you don't do says as much as what you do. I want to make clear what we intentionally avoided this season, because I know some fans feel we crossed lines, and in places we did, but not in the ways some feared. Avoiding the big evil overlord trope. We never wanted a single, one-dimensional villain who explains everything. So you'll find that even the antagonists have motivations. Even those who betray, or who seem monstrous, believe themselves justified. That moral complexity was essential. Avoiding simplistic redemption arcs. Some characters people wanted to see come good, we refrained from giving easy redemption. Because sometimes people change, sometimes they don't. Sometimes their damage is too deep, or their choices too many. That doesn't make them purely evil, but it means their arcs don't resolve in tidy packages. Avoiding an all-is-lost finale. I saw in some predictions that people expected the finale to have no hope, no seed for what comes next, that it would just be bleak. I never wanted that. Even in the darkest moments, I believe in the light that flickers. So the ending may be grim, and the cost may be high, but it's not utterly hopeless. On the response, praise, criticism, misinterpretation. Because of what we chose to do, mixed responses are inevitable. And that's okay. In fact, it's exactly what I wanted in some sense. When stories are only liked, never questioned, something is missing. I want there to be disagreement. Because people engaging, debating, that means they care. When people say, I hated that betrayal, I think the decision to abandon the fleet was wrong. This finale ruined Titheradge for me. Those are valid feelings. And I want to honor them, hear them. But I also want to make clear, some critiques come from reading only what's on the surface. Some from assuming characters are symbols rather than people. Some from expecting heroes to always win in ways that feel satisfying rather than in ways that are truthful to the story. To those who are upset, I see you. I respect you. I hope this statement gives you some of the clarity I wish I could send, person by person, message by message. If you felt betrayed, good. That emotional truth matters. If you felt anger, grief, disorientation, these are not failures. These are part of what I hope the story would evoke. 6. What I stand by, my convictions as Captain Kerry and as the writer. I want to make clear not only what I did, but what I stood for, what I believe are the pillars of this journey, pillars I refuse to break. Truth in leadership. A leader is not just someone who wins battles. A leader is someone who holds the burden of choices, not easy, not clean, and is willing to face the cost. Whether the people follow or hate you, whether your decisions are glorified or condemned, there must be integrity. Sacrifice is real. Not every sacrifice is grand. Not every sacrifice is acknowledged. Sometimes sacrifice is loneliness. Sometimes it's leaving behind what you love for what you believe is necessary. I believe that is essential to this story. Hope amid destruction. Even when everything is shattered, trust, allied forces, resources, you can still choose hope. Maybe different from before. Maybe quieter. But it matters. That choice to hope matters. Consequences are unavoidable. Every action has consequence, not just for the character, but for everyone around. You can't wave a magic wand. And I did not want easy absolution. Ambiguity as a mirror. To all those who dislike ambiguity, who want moral clarity, for villains to be vanquished clearly, for the hero to always win in ways you can cheer, I get it. But I also believe ambiguity reflects life. What I want to make clear is, we embraced ambiguity because we believe it serves a story more honest than black and white. 7. What this means for the future. This is not the end. Season may 12th be over, but I chose that ending, the open-ended moment, precisely to leave room for what comes next. What that next is, I won't promise you yet, and I don't want to overcommit to a path I might change. But I want to be clear about what you can expect. More exploration of the interior lives. How Titheradge wrestles with guilt, loss, and whether leadership, even when alone, is still worth it. A shifting landscape, alliances nothing like before, resources fewer, the map changed. What used to be safe no longer is. New threats that are less visible. Maybe ideological. Maybe internal. The war outside is easier to see. The fight within is harder, but more dangerous. More consequences. We will not undo what's been done because characters must live with what they did, even when we, the audience, cannot forget. 8. What I don't want. Let me also make clear what I do not want from the response. I don't want people to hate the story simply because it diverged from what they wished. I don't want people to stop caring because it hurt too much. Pain in stories is cathartic. It reminds us of what's at stake. I don't want the character of Captain Kerry Titheradge to become a meme or a punchline for how cruel we were. If you hate her or love her, I hope you still see her as someone complicated. 9. Addressing specific misconceptions. A few things I've seen being repeated that, if emphasized here, might help calm some misunderstandings. Misconception. Titheradge betrayed her own moral code. Truth. She altered what her moral code meant when all options hurt. She made compromises, major ones, but didn't abandon everything she believed. In particular, she did not become cruel for cruelty's sake. She acted from necessity and with lingering regret. Misconception. The writers gave up on certain characters. Truth. Some arcs were deprioritized because the story demanded focus elsewhere. It is not always possible to serve every storyline equally when the stakes escalate. That was painful for us, for the cast, for you, but inevitable. Misconception. The finale was meant to shock for shock's sake. Truth. Every shocking moment was seeded, and every payoff was deliberately structured. If some twists felt sudden, it's because they are the accumulation of many small shifts listeners, watchers, readers may have missed in passing. X. What I'm proud of. Amid the regret, the complexity, the damage, there are things I truly, deeply pried in from season 12. The emotional truth we pushed. I believe there are scenes in the mid-season in episodes 8, 10, and especially in the finale, where the pain of choices weighed on people in ways we haven't done before. I believe those scenes will linger, because they should. The performances. I'm grateful to everyone who brought everything. To the cast, crew, writers. Those final episodes included moments so raw, I sometimes couldn't watch without trembling. The world building that deepened, not just with new locales, new enemies, but with the internal geography of characters' shame, guilt, hope, resolve. The bravery, from characters, from writers, from directors. We chose to risk alienating some of the audience in service of truth. That is never easy, but I believe that risk is worth it. 11. A personal note. On a more personal level, as both the actor playing Captain Kerry and a part of the creative team, this season has cost me more than I expected. In sleepless nights, in second-guessing, in wondering whether any of this would feel worthwhile. In carrying the weight of what I asked the character and the audience to bear. Sometimes, in the darkest moments of filming, I ask myself, do we push harder? Do we show more? Do we leave more unsaid? And I believe, finally, that we made the right choices, even when they hurt. Because there is courage in being uncomfortable. There is power in ambiguity. There is meaning in carrying scars. I want to make clear that I needed this season to break me a little. To see what kind of captain, what kind of person, remains when stripped of certainty. And I hope you, wherever you are, whether you cheered or cried or yelled, felt something of that too. 12. What I want you to take away. As I close this, here are the things I most want you to leave with. That sometimes not saving everything is still a choice of courage. That leadership is not always about decisions others think are right, but about decisions you believe are necessary, even when they hurt. That loss isn't the absence of meaning. That isolation isn't weakness. That hope isn't always shining. Sometimes it's the smallest light, flickering at the edge of ruin, but standing. That stories are mirrors more than escape. Sometimes they show us what we don't want to see, what we fear, what we regret. And by seeing it, we begin to understand ourselves. 13. Closing. To everyone who stayed. To the fans who have stayed since season 1, to those who joined in season 12, to those who like, hate, and are somewhere in between, I see you. I hear you. And I thank you. Thank you for riding with Captain Kerry Titheradge through every dark water, every storm, every betrayal, and every glimpse of hope. Thank you for caring enough to be disappointed. Thank you for not letting this story end quietly in the background. I promise, stories aren't only for comfort. They're for reckoning. And sometimes you need to sit with discomfort, with ambiguity, with endings that aren't neat. Because only then do you understand what it is to be human. So this is what I want to make clear. The finale of season 12 is not a farewell. It's a threshold. We're standing at the edge of something changed. And whether we move forward into bright light or deeper shadows, I believe this. You are not alone. Neither is Captain Kerry. Neither is this story. Thank you for staying, for feeling, for demanding more. The story doesn't end here. It just changes shape.